ladies and gents, this is George Peen, and tonight I'm doing a review on a movie I just gone to see in theaters just a while ago, and that movie was Avengers Age of Ultron. Of course, sorry I took so long on doing this review, but since I needed to wait until everyone had seen it because this is going to be have a couple spoilers in it, so now I'm doing it now. Of course, to say, I've wanted to see this movie for a long time, since 2013 at least. Just like everybody else on the entire planet had wanted to see it, because it was the most anticipated film of 2015, alongside Star Wars The Force Awakens and Furious 7. For the plot, Age of Ultron is the sequel to Marvel's The Avengers, the first film, and this one, I'll begin to review it sometime soon in the future, but for now, this was really good. And Avengers 2 is also the fifth installment in what is codenamed Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film is set a couple of years after the battle in New York in Avengers 1, and the Avengers have now become not only a functionable team, but also the best of friends, stopping any rising threat to Earth. Along the way, the team's benefactor, Tony Stark, also known as Iron Man, attempts to jumpstart a new peacekeeping program of his, in which a newly built, self-teaching, self-programming artificial intelligence named Ultron, that would take command of his Iron Legion to neutralize any rising threat, thus giving his fellow Avengers a happy retirement. However, Ultron, having gone unexpectedly sentient, deems the human race to be the main threat, and eventually decides that sudden extinction will help truly bring peace to Earth. So now it is up to the Earth's mightiest heroes to stop Ultron from enacting his genocidal plans, while also trying to keep themselves from fighting each other. As we all know, ever since the Avengers first came out in 2012, the entire world had been anticipating its inevitable sequel, and I've been reading a lot of news about it for the past 3 years, how Joss Whedon, the writer and director of the first Avengers, said he wanted the sequel to be smaller, more personal, more painful, by being the next thing that should happen to these characters and not just a rehash of what seemed to work the first time, by having a theme that's fresh and organic to itself. To me, that sounds really cool. He's talking about how he doesn't want the sequel to go down the typical Hollywood sequel route of going bigger, but this time going deeper and focusing on the dynamics of the Avengers and make it more darker. And then he also said that death would play a theme, and that got me thinking, oh no, he's going to pull a Wrath of Khan on us, meaning he may kill an important character off. But I was fine with it now, feeling that bringing in such a big thing would help create tension and suspense and concern for our Avengers. Then he said that the story for the sequel was influenced by The Empire Strikes Back and The Godfather Part 2. That sounds really cool, because those two movies are the best examples of making a great sequel. He had me at Empire Strikes Back, and it's cool. But many people assumed that Thanos, who appeared in the end credits of Avengers 1, was going to be the villain for the sequel, but then it was revealed that it was going to be Ultron, the robot, and that it would be titled Age of Ultron. That, to me, got me really excited for it. The idea of the Avengers fighting a genocidal robot was really cool, even though the whole rogue AI robot revolt thing has been used so many times, but seeing it in a superhero movie looked cool. But now that it has rivalry against X-Men Days of Future Past. But oh well. And I saw the film, and to be honest, I really enjoyed it. It was really good, in my opinion. it felt short. I felt it would have been longer, but I think it did okay. This film covers a multitude of subplots that to cover, which were 1. The origin and introduction of Ultron. 2. The introduction and backstory of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, or the Maximoff twins. 3. The characterization and romance of Black Widow and Hulk. And number 4, the sequel hooks, which is, it also spends most of the movie setting up future Marvel films such as Captain America Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and even Avengers 3, or Avengers Infinity War Parts 1 and 2. And for the cast, focus on the Avengers. Robert Downey Jr., as always, is Iron Man, basically. He could basically play this role in his sleep by now, and I like this character. He still wasn't like the main star of the whole thing. He was just part of the big group, and for good explanation why he built Ultron is because spoilers in a way. He gets hexed by Scarlet Witch to have a nightmarish vision in which he sees a future in which the Avengers are not only lost a future battle, but beaten to death, and he feels guilt-ridden for it, and living out of fear that his fellow Avengers will die in a future battle, and he decides to create Ultron that will be more powerful than them. So that's a really good motivation for why he did it. I think it worked out well. And of course, Chris Evans as Captain America is still great as always. He does perfect as Captain America. You can definitely tell he's definitely the leader of the Avengers. He's perfect. He doesn't give up a fight, and he keeps going. And there's even one cool moment where he fights Ultron, which is really cool. He was still able to keep up his fighting against Ultron, and again, Chris Evans does an amazing job. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, as always, is good, but his character has been reduced a little bit. That's probably because the film has been cut down to its runtime, and Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow is good, but there's been some complaints people have been making that her role in the film is considered sexist. But when you watch the movie, and how she has been also called a damsel in distress, but when you watch the movie, she's quite the contrary to it. You can tell she's doing a lot of action, risking her lives to help the others, and when she was captured, she also sets a tracking chip to help her fellow Avengers find where she is, which is cool. So that is quite the contrary to sexist. These people are just idiots who just don't know what they're saying. There's no pleasing these people, to be honest. Now, Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner or the Hulk is great as well. His role, the Hulk's role, has been expanded now, and it's good to see more of the Hulk. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo as always is really a sympathetic person in these movies, and it's good to see him again. And now, one more thing, Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, wow, he really does steal a bit of the show. Because since his character's role has been a bit reduced in the first Avengers, his character gets a lot more of the spotlight in this, and there's even more character development on him, which is really cool. It makes you want to sympathize with Hawkeye, that he's more, and he proves his worthiness that he can still, despite the fact that he has a bow and arrow, and he's a normal human compared to these superheroes, these gods, he still proves to be a worthy Avenger, a worthy fighter, and I think that's cool. Uh, Taylor Johnson as Quicksilver. While not bad, he just isn't as good as the Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past, but the effects of him running at such a fast pace is still good as always. I love the blue trail behind him. I thought that was a nice touch. And now Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver's twin sister. I thought she did an amazing job as her character. She truly was a great character you could, get to know about, and the pain she goes through along with Quicksilver, and I think Elizabeth Olsen hit the nail perfectly, and I'll be glad to see her in more future Marvel films. And now, Paul Bettany as Jarvis and Vision. Paul Bettany, as always, does a great job. I always liked him as Jarvis, but when he becomes, spoilers, the Vision, he really is the big, awesome moment in the movie. Paul Bettany as Vision is really amazing. I think he did a great job, and it'll be good to see him in more future Marvel movies again. There's one cool moment where, after he's created, spoilers, that he tries to gain the trust of the Avengers, and he says, "But we need to go," and he picks up Thor's hammer, proving that he's not only on their side, but he's worthy of Thor's hammer, which is a rare thing, and everyone was just speechless. The entire audience was laughing at that. That was just awesome. And now for the one big star of this movie, James Spader as Ultron. Ultron kicks a lot of ass in this movie. Spader's performance as Ultron is truly amazing. His voice is very perfect, but there's just one problem. The trailers and advertisements featured Ultron as being intimidating and menacing and speaking in philosophical ways. But in the movie, he makes quips, humorous quips from time to time, and sometimes it just makes him less imitating. It's the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 all over again, where we expect a menacing feeling, and yet we get what could quite possibly just be termed as a joke. But it's explained that, since Tony built Ultron, he Tony transferred his subconscious personality traits into Ultron, so Ultron has Tony's wry sense of humor, so that explains why he's being a bit of a funny guy. That's the only problem with the character. But still, James Spader as Ultron is really great. I wish I'd seen more. He had more screen time in the movie. He was really great. He had this menacing feel, he could be able to be eerily calm and compelling, while also being very human and humorous. And there was one scene where he talked about his fascination with meteors and how it can destroy life so it could start again. It's such spine-tingliness when I've heard him talk about it. James Spader, congratulations, man. You made Ultron sound really creepy. And so yeah, Ultron was really a great villain in my opinion. And of course Samuel L. Jackson comes back as Nick Fury. His appearance in the movie, his screen time is a bit of more than a cameo, but of course he's not wasted in this movie. He also has a pivotal role in the movie in the final act, which is cool. As for else, I think my main highlights of this movie is the action sequences. There's one cool moment where in the opening we see the Avengers. There's this big cool hero shot. It's a long shot where we go through the forest and we see each of the Avengers fighting Hydra soldiers, and then they all come together and just come right through the screen together against the Hydra force. That's the best hero shot. It makes the hero shot in the first Avengers make a run for its money, and it was really cool. But the best one is the scene where Iron Man uses his Hulkbuster armor to stop a bewitched Hulk from wreaking havoc in a city, and the fight sequence is really awesome. It was the highlight of the movie. It was really awesome, fangasmic, and yet also humorous. There were some funny moments that Tony makes some funny jokes. It's really funny, and it just makes you have a good joy at seeing it. Of course, there's some, but for the action sequence, of course it goes bigger in its action. In the first Avengers, there were only like 3 action scenes. One, there's the one in the forest with the fight between Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. The second one being on the helicarrier, and the third one, the best one, being in New York between the Avengers and the aliens. This one has, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 action sequences. The one for the opening, the raid on the Hydra outpost. The other being the Hulkbuster versus Hulk scene. The third one being the car chase in South Korea, and the fourth one being the final battle. And the action scenes were really good. They weren't like badly shaky cam or all that crazy stuff. You could clearly tell what's going on. That's good. Unlike the Transformers movies, where half the time you couldn't tell what the hell was going on in those movies. But here, it's definitely better. And yeah, the action scenes were really good. And something else as well. There is, a couple of problems that I have with the movie, which I could talk about. The first one being Ultron's origin. Of course, this being a movie, you have to quicken some things for the pacing, but here it just felt a bit rushed. The moment he turns on, he goes through the internet, learning the history about the Avengers, who they are, what he was programmed for, and humans' violent history, and then he quickly decides that to exterminate mankind. It just felt a bit rushed that way, and I wished it could have fleshed out more. And the second one being possibly the Hawkeye's farmhouse scene in the middle act, the middle portion. It just felt like it was dragging a bit. Of course, there are good character development moments in it, but it just felt dragged a little bit. But I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm still even willing to watch that scene. But that's my other complaint. Of course, they might have wanted to recreate this movie to be like The Empire Strikes Back, where it shows our hero just beaten, losing a fight and having to hide out to rest up before going back out there. But, oh well, I don't see anything. Now, the third problem I have is its running time. This movie clocks in at 141 minutes, or 2 hours and 21 minutes. We've been hearing that got news that Joss Whedon's original cut was 3 hours and 30 minutes long, but Marvel felt it was very too long for a theatrical release, and at one point tried to reduce it down to 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but still felt it was too long, so they cut it down to this length now. I think the running time is the movie's main problem. I think the movie's real problem is its runtime. I think if the movie had been longer, like up to 3 hours, it could have fleshed out every subplot it had. It could have helped the movie flesh out better, and that's my main problem. But since it's a minute shorter than the first Avengers, it just felt like, because of that short runtime, it felt rushed and obligatory, and that's what other people have been complaining about as well, is that felt rushed and obligatory, how it had to do, like, they said it felt like a checklist, having to check out everything on the list before having to move on to the real thing, and that's also another problem of mine. But thankfully, they said, news broke out that when it comes out for home video on Blu-ray and DVD, that we'll get an extended cut. Hopefully that means they'll put scenes back into the movie and make it 3 hours long, rather than just put them on the disc for, deleted scenes or alternate scenes and all that. I don't want that. I want the movie to be longer, like James Cameron's movies, like The Abyss, Aliens, and Terminator 2. But we'll see when its home video release approaches. But yeah, that's basically it. That's really it. I can't think of anything else. The movie, the Avengers 2 was good. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't as good as the first movie, but I still felt it lived up to my expectations. I thought it was good. It's yeah, that's what I think. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it in the theater. The place was a bit crowded, and a lot of people laughed at a lot of jokes, including I. So I had a blast seeing it, and I'm willing to get it on Blu-ray. And one quick advice is that if you're gonna see the movie, keep your expectations low, because if you go in with your expectations high, you may end up disappointed. But if you go in with your expectations low, then you might like it. You might find it to be good, if not great. And take that advice at least. Just try it out. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. It may not be good, but it may not be perfect. But I'm hoping that you'll find it to be good for yourself. I'm not trying to change your opinion, but yeah, take my advice. And so I'm thinking other things. But yeah, still, the movie grossed over $1 billion worldwide, so it's still a instant success, and this is really Joss Whedon's last Marvel film before, leaving the Marvel Studio universe, so don't expect them to come back to do Avengers 3. Instead, those movies will be directed by the Russo brothers, the same guys who directed Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Captain America: Civil War. So, that based on what I've seen in those two movies and the anticipation for Civil War, I think they're going to do a good job on helming Avengers 3. So, yeah, I think so there, I can't think of anything else. So for Avengers 2, I give this movie at least 7.5 stars out of 10, because it's not as good as the first movie again, but it's not Avengers 1 perfect, but it is still a blast to watch. It is a good blockbuster movie with lots of good action. Sure, it'll probably remind you of the Transformers movies, but just go in with your low expectations, and I'm sure you'll have a good blast watching it. And you may notice some similarities with it to The Empire Strikes Back, but don't worry, that was intentional. And hopefully, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the movie. And to be honest, I still think Avengers 2 is worth seeing again. That's what I think. And the Avengers Age of Ultron has a special place in my heart now, and I'm glad to have seen it. Definitely worth the price. So, thanks you guys, thanks ladies and gents for watching my review, and I hope you enjoyed the review. Peace!